essential for the students to face the 21st century world. So I hope this lesson plan template will guide you to how to train your students to incorporate all those skills through your science subject. See, first, for the stream PBL lesson plan, your teacher should plan these 6 sessions and she must execute one by one. The first session is a warm-up and then PBL starters and then PBL workstation, expressions part and a broads part and a wrap-up. See, basically for a science lesson plan, the most recommended lesson plan template is a...
Ma'am,
Yeah.
this is English and Tamil we can also, because many know Tamil more. So you can mix Tamil and English.
Yeah, okay, sir, fine. Thank you. Okay. The National Science Teachers Association selected there is an big or a science or association is there. They highly recommended a 5-year lesson plan template recommend பண்ணுவாங்க. So to teach the science, usually we will say we should not teach science, we must practice science among our students. So to practice science among our students, this 5-year lesson plan வந்து a highly recommended lesson plan. இப்போ நான் prepare பண்ணிருக்கிற இந்த PBL stream PBL lesson plan template is more or less related to that 5-year template. For example, this warm up, it is equal to the engage phase of 5-year lesson plan, and PBL starters and PBL workstation, these 2 phases comes under explore. They mother expressions part and broad views part, these comes under explanation and elaborate phase of 5-year lesson plan, and wrap up comes under evaluate phase of 5-year lesson plan. So our science வந்து effective teach பண்றதுக்கு இந்த 5-year template எப்படி help பண்ணுமோ, in correlation with this 5-year template, this stream based PBL also help us to teach science in more effective way. So first, as நம்ம lesson plan எழுதையில வந்து we used to write which grade with the chapter name and how long it will take to complete the particular lesson and reference. என்ன ஒரு lesson teachers வந்து teach பண்ணையில the teacher must refer some additional resources in addition to the textbook. So என்னென்னலாம் அவங்க refer பண்ணாங்க, the teacher must list down all the reference. And then the most prior knowledge, this is most important thing. See, ஒரு teacher for example 7th grade science எடுக்க போகையில according to that particular topic previous gradeல அவங்க என்ன படிச்சிருக்காங்க அப்படின்றத teacher must know, because நம்ம first lesson எடுக்கையில வந்து மோட்டிவேஷன் அப்படின்றத பசங்களுக்கு கொடுப்போம். அந்த மோட்டிவேஷன் வந்து எதுக்கு ரிலவெண்டா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னா, they must trigger the previous knowledge. knownல இருந்து unknown விஷயத்துக்கு வந்து teacher must tie a link. So அப்போ வந்து teacher must aware of what is the prior knowledge the student must have. Now board, whether it is a matriculation board or NCERT board or SCERT, whatever it is, they are publishing many curriculum documents. Teacher must read those curriculum document and must get knowledge about what is the prior knowledge and future scope for that particular subject. And then list out content. What are the content of that particular lesson with its flow. One by one, எந்த மாதிரி அந்த content வந்து flow அந்த textbookல வந்து கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. The teacher must aware of this and the teacher must list down this in the lesson plan. And the most important, the major heart of this lesson plan, project driven question. So it is a art. The teacher must build a project driven question in such a way, and the question வச்சுதான் அந்த whole lesson-ஐயுமே அந்த teacher வந்து கொண்டு போகணும். அந்த லெசன்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய எல்லா கண்டென்ட்டையும் இந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு ஆன்சரை வச்சு the teacher must explain. So the teacher must decide a proper project driven question. For this chapter electricity and its effects, நான் எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்கு போட்டிருக்கிற project driven question, how are the wires are used in the electrical circuit and what is the impact created by the wires other than passing the current.
Excuse me, ma'am, you are muted.
Sorry. Yeah, now am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Next thing, the teacher must be clear about the learning objective. And the lesson நான் எடுத்து முடிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் என்னோட ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கு என்னென்ன அப்ஜெக்டிவ்ஸ்ல அவன் வந்து அச்சீவ் பண்ணியிருப்பான் அதை வந்து the teacher must list down. Learning objective also she must focus under the 3 major domains. வெறும் cognitive மட்டும் இல்லாம cognitive, affective and psychomotor. Under these 3 domains, the teacher must plan the learning objective. And அவங்க plan பண்ற எல்லா task activities எல்லாமே must correlate with these 3 domains. So these are the objectives I list down under cognitive, and these are under affective and psychomotor. First session is the warm-up session. So as you all know, warm-up must be given in such a way to engage the students towards the topic. அவங்களுக்கு previous அந்த topic பத்தி என்ன தெரியுமோ அந்த topic related some activities build பண்ணி she must trigger the prior knowledge and she must start deliver the unknown content. So what are the teaching learning materials the teacher must use? She must list down that properly, and how long it will take to complete the warm-up session, and the learning outcomes. And the learning outcomes again, it covers the 3 domains. And what are the stream elements in the warm-up? Any stream elements the teacher is going to focus. So here in this warm-up session that I plan, I include science and engineering. And what are the skills? Metacognition skill, it is a higher order thinking level skill and remembering. And under the affective domain, it is valuing. So based on these skills, the activities has been built up under the warm-up session. For example, these are the activities planned for the warm-up session. Here, the teacher may switch off the lights off pani. She may ask what happened and why it has been happened. And if I switch on, what will happen? And through this, the teacher may give what is electricity and what is the use of electricity. And she may create some activity to imagine or full power shutdown irundaduna what is the impact in your life. It will this activity comes under affective domain. And the student technology advancement in the activity மூலமா நம்ம explain பண்ணலாம். And then the concept of engineers, for example, how the electricity is being created and how it is being distributed. Using this concept, we may introduce the concept of engineering in this activity. So by we may talk about the importance of electricity, and we may make them to value the importance of saving the electricity. So the second session is the PBL starters. Mostly நம்ம hotels போனோம்னா first we will order starters. And the starters ஓட main work வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா it tend towards the main course, right? So அதே மாதிரி warm up முடிச்சிட்டோம், அடுத்து PBL workstation, அதாவது PBL நம்ம work பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி some things we have to develop among the kids. So அந்த PBL starters தான் இந்த second session. PBL startersல 2 step will be that. First is enrich the vocabulary. And the lessonல இப்போ நான் ஒரு project பண்ண போறேன் அப்படின்னா what are the basic vocabularies the children must know. And the mari vocabularies that the teacher must pick up, and the teacher must explain the meaning of the vocabularies. And the explanation as since it is a science demonstration method or flashcards rather than PowerPoint presentation, using those teaching learning materials, the teacher may explain the vocabularies. Here, first thing the vocabularies are listed on for this lesson: atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, charge, conductors, and insulators and compass. So in the vocabularies explain பண்றதுக்கு the teacher our atomic structure draw பண்ணி label பண்ணி காட்டலாம். Some PowerPoint presentation மூலமா the teacher may explain. And then using some activity, for example, some triggering questions. So electric ion, why is the handle of electric ion is made up of plastic or wood? So in the way conductors and insulators are differentiate பண்றதுக்கு some triggering questions and students ஓட responses collect பண்ணி board list down பண்ணிட்டு we can make them to sort the materials into conductors and insulators, and what are the antonyms and synonyms between conductors and insulators. So though in the மாதிரி some சின்ன சின்ன activities மூலமா the teacher must develop the vocabulary knowledge relevant to the particular chapter. And again here teacher some stream element என்னென்ன concept கொண்டு வராங்க அப்படின்னா science and art here, and what are the skills the teacher focused. The teacher must list down all those skills and duration, everything, how long it will take to develop the vocabulary part. So second step is build background knowledge. இப்போ நம்ம science fairலயே சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, before starting a project, before we decide where before we point out the hypothesis, the student must do background knowledge இல்லையா. ஸோ அதே மாதிரி தான் இங்கேயும். ஸோ ஒரு ப்ராஜெக்ட் பசங்களை நம்ம பண்ண வைக்க போறோம் அப்படின்னா relevant to the project we must develop the background knowledge. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அதுக்கு ரிலவெண்டான vocabularies develop பண்றோம். Second step background knowledge build பண்றோம். So to build the background knowledge also the teacher may use many different method, demonstration method and inquiry based learning மூலமா flip classroom, what இங்க வந்து எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்காக I mentioned ஒவ்வொரு மெத்தடு கீழே ஒவ்வொரு கான்செப்ட் நான் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். இட் இஸ் நாட் நெசசரி ஆல் த மெத்தட ஒரே லெசன் பிளானுக்குள்ள கொண்டு வரணும் அப்படின்றது இட் இஸ் நாட் நீடட். Any one or two according to the content. Here flow of electrons a demonstration method மூலமா the teacher's plan to explain. So again here the stream mapping concept is science and art. So second வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா flipped classroom. Most of you are aware of the flipped classroom. So previously ஒரு book இல்ல ஒரு site பசங்களுக்கு கொடுத்து previous day it is our home task the teacher may plan. So you may read and next following class we may discuss. So ஒரு flipped classroom technique மூலமாவும் we can build the background knowledge. And then inquiry based learning again ஒரு mini experiment class குள்ள நம்ம equipments எல்லாமே segregate பண்ணி students வந்து we can segregate as group. ஒவ்வொரு குரூப்பும் ஒவ்வொரு ஆக்டிவிட்டி பண்ணி அந்த குரூப் என்னென்ன knowledge gain பண்ணாங்களோ அந்த knowledge sharing மாதிரி we can plan. So here for example I mentioned three basic science methods. Yeah, and then it is an integrative explanation that comes under one of inquiry based learning part. Inquiry based learning போகையில first inquiry question the teacher post பண்ணனும், and what is the procedure, what is the experimental procedure the teacher must encourage the students to do to find out answer for the question, and an experimentல என்ன observation பசங்க வந்து பண்ணனும் அப்படின்றத question we can ask and we make the students to find out answer for the question, and we must encourage the students to report their findings, and avangala findings vachu the teacher must give explanation in relation with the exploring part. So idu moolama we can build the background knowledge. So again I want to summarize. So second session la two things we had seen. One is the building vocabulary part and building the background knowledge. So two things nama pasangalukku build panni mudichadukku appuram then third session, this is the main session, PBL workstation. Why I coined the word workstation is here the student is going to do the project based learning in a real way. So there are 5 steps in this PBL workstation. First, the teacher must pose the project driven question. In the question they must find out the answer through the project. And second, planning phase, that the student must plan. And then third, the review must be by the teacher as well as peer review we can encourage. And fourth step is the relook. After getting the review, the student must relook the plan. And fifth, the student must proceed doing the project. These are the 5 steps under PBL workstation. So again, for this PBL workstation, again, what are the TLM the teacher is going to use, and duration. This duration, it depends upon the project that has been selected by the teacher. and then the learning outcomes of this particular workstation and stream mapping. So in the PBL workstation la pathina almost all the stream elements, science, technology, reading, writing, engineering, arts and mathematics, இது எல்லாமே incorporate ஆயிடும். Also the skill, the three skills la almost maximum of the cognitive skill and affective and psychomotor skills from the lower order thinking skill and higher order thinking skill வரைக்கும் develop பண்ற opportunity in the PBL workstation la the teacher can use. First, project driven question. For this lesson, how the wires are used in the electrical circuit, what is the impact of the wire other than passing the current? Because wire வந்து current pass பண்ணுன்றது பேசிக்கா எல்லா childrenக்குமே தெரியும். Other than that, what is the impact created by the wires in the electrical circuit? That is the project driven question, and for this question only the students are going to find out the answer. So project driven question, teacher post panele, the teacher must give the timeline, so how, when they have to propose the plan and when they have to submit the first draft and final draft, because everything we must plan, everything must be time bounded. Second thing, plan. The teacher must segregate the student வந்து group wise segregate பண்ணி each group என்ன பண்ணலாம்னா must find out some other thing. So on the group again the science fair concepts in that scientific methodology we can teach the student while planning. So they have to frame the hypothesis. To test the hypothesis they have to plan, they have to design the experiment, and variables ellame they have to design, and ella planning ellathayume they have to submit to the teacher. So third thing is the review part. Review must be done both by the teacher and peer review. So avanga plan propose pannela and the plan enna mari the student will explain, and the teacher, if it is okay, the teacher may encourage them to do with that plan. If there are slight changes edavadhu pananum அப்படின்ற மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா teacher may tell her feedback. So based on the feedback they received both from their peers and teacher, என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க அப்படின்னா relook, they will relook the plan. Fourth step relook பண்ணுவாங்க, and fifth they will proceed the project. So step by step according to the experimental method they will start proceeding the project. So first நம்ம என்ன பண்ண project driven question post பண்ணிருக்கோம் இல்லையா, maybe அந்த project driven question the teacher may break down, narrow down பண்ணலாம். அந்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து குரூப்பா பிரிச்சு ஒவ்வொரு குரூப்பும் ஒவ்வொரு கான்செப்ட்ஸை நோக்கி எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் பண்ண வைக்கலாம். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நம்மளோட கொஸ்டினுக்கு எப்படி பிரேக் டவுன் பண்ணலாம்னா, does the material of the wire in the electromagnet it affects its strength? Does the material affect the strength? Does the length of the wire affect the flow of current? Does the number of turns illa thickness illana material, so amount of heat produced by the wire? So your 5 narrow down questions, for example, I had given, but according to the strength and level of the students we can narrow down the questions in the own innovative way. So again we can the teacher may suggest some activities how they can find out answers for the project driven question. This is the suggestion, and it is not necessary for the teacher to do. It is just that the teacher may post some suggestions. So in this way maybe you can find out the answer for this question. Some I studied experiment for this. Okay, so after completing the project, the fourth one is the expressions part. The fourth session is the expressions part. In this part the student must present the project, what they found in their project. So that comes under expressions part. See, expression that student may express in both way, either in the either as a written document or as the oral presentation. So step one is the academic writing. Maximum it relates to the research paper submission of our science fair. So they may present either as a journal or as like a poster making, or they may present their report in a research paper method. So students' voice, this is their oral presentation. They can present their project like a PowerPoint presentation, skits or role play. So these two steps they may use to express what they learned, what they found in their project. So again it comes under sharing of knowledge among the students. So here the stream mapping, here under the stream mapping, here that teachers focus is science, art and technology. Because for அவங்க ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணதுல அவங்க ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணத ஒரு பவர் பாயிண்ட் ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் பண்றாங்க, இல்ல ஒரு போஸ்டர் ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் பண்றாங்க, இல்ல ஒரு ரிசர்ச் பேப்பர் அவங்க ப்ரெசென்ட் பண்ணல, they will use the technology. So here these three stream elements are mapped. So the last session is the broad views part. See, first PBL starters pannanga. After getting some background knowledge, they started doing the project under PBL workstation. And என்ன ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணாங்களோ அடுத்த செஷன்ல அந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட்ல என்ன கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்க அதை they explained. And the last session is the broad view spot. இதுல வந்து நம்மளோட ட்ரெடிஷனல் மெத்தட், நம்ம ஒரு சாப்டர் நடத்தணும் அப்படின்னா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸுக்கு வந்து சம் ஹையர் ஆர்டர் திங்கிங் ஸ்கில்ஸ் வச்சு நம்ம அப்ளிகேஷன் பேஸ்டு கொஸ்டின்ஸை டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுவோம். அண்ட் தென் அந்த லெசன்ல ரிலேட் ஆயிருக்க சம் அதர் most important explanation the teacher must give. All these comes under broad view spot. So in the broad view spotல பசங்க ப்ராஜெக்ட்ல என்ன கண்டுபிடிச்சாங்களோ அதை பேஸா வச்சு the teacher must explain. See again இந்த இடத்துல என்ன கான்செப்ட் அப்படின்னா, rather than telling the facts, இப்போ properties of air, solid and liquid, அதை டைரக்டா டீச்சர் சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலா the teacher must make the student to find out the properties. So அவங்களை எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ண வச்சு அவங்க என்ன எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணாங்களோ அதுக்கு ரிலவெண்டா ரிலேட் பண்ணி the teacher must explain the concept. So அதே கான்செப்ட் தான் இங்கேயும். ஸோ இவங்க எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் என்னென்னலாம் பண்ணாங்களோ அந்த கான்செப்டை வச்சு the teacher must explain what are the effects of electric current. And in addition to that, the teacher must explain how to save electricity, how to protect the electronic devices, like that. All the additional information in this broad view spot the teacher must explain to the kids. And then in this extension activity the teacher must plan the higher order thinking skill activities. It may be list of some activities or list of higher order thinking skill questions. So again the questions are based on the questions and based on the activity the teacher must list down the stream element. Mathematics, for example, length of wire or effect எல்லாம் measure பண்ணல, here mathematics plays the major role. Length, thickness, for finding the area of cross section, அந்த மாதிரி concepts எல்லாம் வரையில mathematics part of stream education is involved. So the teacher must plan the activities in that way. And then reading corner. So even it is a science chapter, the teacher must give ample scope for the student to read the content, to read the topic, right? So some activities must be planned to enrich the reading skill of the student. So here two types of reading activity I planned. One is the scanning activity and one is the electricity quiz. See, in this quiz, previous day itself the teacher may give the students to prepare 5 questions per student. This will encourage the students to read the concept, to read the chapter more detail, and it will develop the questioning skill among the children too. So after that, it is a finger play comes under notes. Usually in the traditional method, we will give some notes for the students to study, right? Instead of giving the notes directly, we can give the questions and we can make the students to find out the answers to all the questions and we can correct. So under the question part, according to the application based questions that has been suggested by the boards, we can add more higher order thinking level questions. And then the closure part, that is the summary part. So here we can add more questions based on the application based questions. We can plan some activities. For example, here I planned one value added activity, that is the student may interview with their grandparents about how they spend avanga young age electricity illama eppdila avanga spend pannanga or grandparents to interview panni if report பண்ணுங்க அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ஒரு activity நம்ம plan பண்ணல. It gives an opportunity for the kids to talk with their grandparent. So இங்க வந்து நம்ம under affective domain we are planning one activity to develop the affective skill of the students. So the last thing is the wrap up. So after completing the chapter, we must evaluate. So for the evaluation, here I suggested 2 to 3 activities. One is the vocabulary word mapping and the Olympiad pattern MCQs and basic traditional worksheet which contains all the subjective and subjective questions. The teacher may plan their own innovative way. So at last, evaluation part must be there. See, overall in the lesson plan, நம்ம ட்ரெடிஷ்னல் மெத்தட்ல என்னென்ன விஷயங்கள்லாம் பண்ணுவோமோ அந்த எலமெண்ட் எல்லாமே ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணியிருப்போம். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ரீடிங், கிவிங் நோட்ஸ், கண்டக்டிங் டெஸ்ட். இன் அடிஷன் டு தட் திஸ் PBL plays the major role to incorporate the stream element and to develop the 21st century skill among the students by doing the project. So this is the last is the reflection chart. This is highly important for the students to develop their metacognitive skill, what they learned in the project and what has been went well. Now project பண்ணல என்ன நல்லா போச்சு, what is the most challenging part while doing the project, how I plan the time. So அவங்களே அவங்க பண்ண ப்ராஜெக்ட் ரெஃப்ளெக்ட் பண்ணாலே it will encourage the students to improve themselves and it will encourage them reflective thinking among the children. So this is the thing we had seen. Wrap up, warm up, PBL starters, PBL workstation, and then expressions part and a broad views part and wrap up. These 6 sessions will help us to link both PBL and stream. That's all. This is the lesson plan template. நான் சொன்னேன் இல்லையா, in general and the template ஓட explanation I had mentioned in this. So thank you all.